IGN Live at Gamescom. Video games have borrowed liberally from Neill Blomkamp's movies, and now he is working on a video game of his own. Here to tell us about Off the Grid Chief Visionary Officer at Gunzilla Games, Neill Blomkamp. That is a killer title.
Yeah, dude.
I know, it is
great.
It's quite an excessive title, but I'll take it.
Yeah.
Nice. Now we have an exclusive look at the game that it looks pretty sick. Can you tell us a little bit about what it is and what's going on?
Well, what it is it's a multiplayer shooter. It's a third-person shooter, and it's a dystopian cyberpunk setting. So it's something that feels creatively very personal to me. And we're going to try to do something interesting, which is build enough of a world and enough of a sort of a background and sort of lore to everything that we're going to attempt to try to inject some narrative from that into a battle royale, which is going to be difficult, but hopefully we succeed and we inject a bit of narrative into something that is as un-narrative centric as a battle royale.
Now, obviously, in many of your movies, things have kind of gone awry for society, to
Yes.
say the least. Is that's obviously what's happening here? Tell us a little bit of the sort of the world building here. Like, how did we get here with these characters?
That space elevator is the world's first space elevator in the lore of the game, which is built on an island in the Pacific. Mm-hmm. So it draws huge amounts of resources to it as they start bringing down minerals from asteroids. And so you end up with mega corporations, like a kind of a Blade Runner sort of Tyrell Wayland kind of mega corporation influence over a tropical island. And this age-old idea in cyberpunk of mega corporations being more powerful than governments.
Right.
This game would take place at the moment that power balance is shifting, which is pretty interesting. So it's with the wealth of something like a space elevator, with mega corporations fighting over the wealth that it provides, and kind of global governments getting involved to try to be part of that party. You have the moment that would tip it into more of a Tyrell Wayland sort of future, where the governments have basically lost in their ability to control Earth, and it's moved into a dystopian corporate environment.
That's when the fun stuff starts happening, obviously.
Yeah, it's fun all the way.
Now you're collaborating with Richard K. Morgan on this, right?
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that process and sort of how it is to work on this with him?
It's pretty awesome. I mean, I was, it was probably about a year and a half ago that he emailed me, and he was like, I'd never met him before, and he said, I'm working on this game with Gunzilla, and one of the references that he named was Elysium, and he was like, there's a lot of stuff that I think you would find interesting in the game. Do you want to come and speak to us about maybe being involved? So the idea of the island, the idea of a battle royale, all of these things were sort of set in place, but he brought me over where I went to Kiev, because Gunzilla is a Ukrainian company, so I went to Kiev and I went to Frankfurt, which is where the two offices are, and I met everyone. I met Vlad, who's the CEO, I met Scott, who's head of design, and I kind of and then began working on it with Richard in terms of like throwing ideas back and forth narratively, and we just sort of fleshed out this pretty dense science fiction playground, and now we just have to make the audience hopefully like what we've built.
Now, we're seeing a lot of like just incredibly cool weaponry and, just arms, mechanics and stuff like that. In terms of pitching those, do you get to come into the dev team and just be like, hey, I want like this grappling hook that shoots off of this guy's half an arm? How does that happen? Or like, I want a sword.
Yes, it's some of it is a combination of me learning how games are made and kind of understanding how it's much more of a flat hierarchy with the way that all of the different departments work. But I definitely will throw ideas in terms of cyber limbs, weapons. But a lot of that stuff was there. The grapple hook arm was one of the things. I mean, that's also in Apex and stuff. But there are other weirder ones that are newer. But definitely, I'll throw ideas in the mix. Vlad will throw ideas into the mix, and then there's a whole bunch of sort of ideas that are generated through artwork too, right? Like you see a piece of art, you don't necessarily know what its function is, but you're like, okay, that could become this.
That's awesome.
So it does feel very creative. I mean, it's kind of what I've always wanted to do in a sense, like outside of film, where coming from visual effects, I've always been obsessed with three-dimensional environments that are computer generated, that audiences can experience and sort of drop into.
Right.
And with sound design, it's like that's what games are. So the framework that Gunzilla has built with a large amount of artists that can pull off something pretty awesome, it feels very creative and very cool to me to be able to come in there and be part of the team that helps realize an entire island that is basically a place that you can experience.
It's so awesome.
Yeah.
Nice. Now, one last question. You are also working on a video game movie, but it's not one people are expecting. You're doing Gran Turismo.
Yeah.
Can you say anything about that?
I love cars, which is the summary of that. I really love cars, and I got sent the script, and the script is awesome, and it's a very natural way to use Gran Turismo. It seems like it wouldn't make sense how to make a film out of that, but when you see the movie, it will make sense. And I get to hang around cars, which is cool. So it's
I gotcha.
Yeah.
See what you're up to.
Yeah.
Well, Neill, thank you so much for joining us. I'm dying to learn more about Off the Grid. It looks sick. Off the Grid releases in 2023, which gives you plenty of time to marathon the movies that he made. They're cool movies. And maybe learn some self-defense tactics, to hold your own on a dystopian tropical island, whichever is easiest. Keep watching IGN Live Gamescom for more.